Hi there, welcome back to our literature series, and today we're looking at the leader and the led. The leader and the led is an African poem, and it's among those selected for JAMB. So today we're going to run through our analysis of the leader and the led. First off, we look at the poet. The leader and the led was written by Niyi Osundari, a Nigerian poet. And then we look at the plot, or the plot summary per se. So we said the poem is made up of 24 lines, arranged in 12 stanzas. So that means each stanza consists of 2 lines, and a 2-line stanza is called a couplet. So the leader and the led consists of 24 lines arranged in 12 stanzas. Each stanza is containing 2 lines, and we refer to that as a couplet. Now, to the poem proper, the poem begins with an animal gathering. The animals are gathered in search of a leader. And then we see some animals come out to express interest in the position, and the other animals to be led. Let's put it away using the poem. They are quick to point out the flaws of these animals interested in leadership and like tell them this is why you cannot lead us. We see the case of the lion. The antelope is quick to remind the lion of his pause, per se. Pause. Then in the case of the hyena, the impalas remind him of his lethal appetite. No animal wants a leader that would, eat them at the end of the day. And then we see the case of the elephant. The elephant is too heavy, and the animals complain of his trampling feet. No animal wants a leader that will trample on them. The elephant rather, can trample on some animals and he won't even notice it. We see the case of the giraffe. The giraffe's eyes is too far from the ground. Then the warthog is too ugly. The rhino is too riotous. So the animals come to an impasse. They can't find a perfect leader. In the poem, we find out that the writer says all the pack trashes around like a snake without a head. So they came to a point where it's almost like, can we find a leader? And then a forest sage reminds them of the qualities that they should look out for. So they are not looking for a perfect leader per se, but somebody with these qualities. In the poem, the sage lists out good qualities or necessary qualities that a leader should have. It doesn't have to be a lion, but should have a little bit of a lion and a little bit of a lamb. Should be compassionate, should be transparent, but also mysterious, tough, but also compassionate. And that's where ends the poem ends with the characteristics or the necessary characteristics that the animal should look out for in a leader. Now we see that the poem is a satire. By satire, we mean a literary work aimed at criticizing, or should we say correcting, societal ills. So the leader and the led is a satire, and it aims to correct leadership crisis. Leadership crisis faced by so many countries in the world, especially Africa. So it aims to correct leadership crisis faced by many countries in the world, and it outlines characteristics that the animals should look out for in a leader. Then we'll look at the themes of this poem. Remember, theme means central idea, what the work is talking about. First up, which is like a major theme, the predominant theme in the poem, is that of leadership. So this poem, the leader and the led, explores the importance of good leadership, and it explicitly tells us the qualities or the necessary qualities that we should look for in a good leader. Then we also have followership. We have followership. Followership goes hand in hand with leadership. So it is the duty or the responsibility of the followers to vote or to elect a good leader. And in the poem, we see as an animal indicates interest for the interest in the position, we see the animals or another animal speak up, remind that animal of the reason why he's not a good fit for the position. So the poem is sending a message to, voters across countries. It is your duty to elect a good leader. Don't judge by maybe don't judge based on ethnicity or religion, but just don't be biased. Look out for good qualities that you want and vote. So the duty is also on the followers. It's not just based on the leaders alone. There is a responsibility that the followers have to carry out. There's a responsibility for the followers as well. So we see the way the animals are quick to shut down or state the flaws of the animals, of the ones that are interested in the leadership. So as voters, or as people to be led rather, you have a role to play in electing good leaders. Then we also have the theme of oppression. In the poem, we see the lion as the symbol of oppression. The lion is a symbol of oppression in the poem. The poem says the antelope is quick to remember the ferocious pounds of his paws. The ferocious pounds. This should be in line 4. So the antelope remembers the ferocious pounds. This is like the lion oppresses the antelope. Based, we can interpret this line in the poem to mean that the lion oppresses the antelope, and nobody wants a leader that would oppress them. If the lion can oppress the antelope, definitely he can oppress other animals. So we see the theme of oppression in the play. Then we also have greediness, which is the hyena. The the poem, sorry, says the impalas are quick to remember the lethal appetite. The lethal appetite of the hyena, which means the hyena is greedy and symbolizes so many leaders that we have today. We have those that are like the lion, we have those that are like the hyena, oppressing the people that they are supposed to lead, or those that are greedy, who see the position of leadership as a means to an end, just a means to enrich themselves, even to the detriment of those that they are supposed to follow. We see that theme in the poem. Then we also see the theme of male dominance. This is especially shown in the fact that all the animals that indicated interest for leadership were all male. And we see it in the use of his, the repeated use of his, the pronoun his. Sorry. Repeated use of his in the play. So we see for the lion, his paws. For the hyena, his lethal appetite. For the zebra, his stripes, duplicity of his stripes. For the giraffe, we see his eyes. So there is a repeated use of the pronoun his, which is used for male. So there's a repeated use of the pronoun his and tells us that all the animals vying for the positions are male. This represents the low ratio of men, of women to men rather, in politics. There's a very low ratio, very especially in African politics. Very few women are involved in politics, and there's that theme of male dominance in the play. We also have other themes like imperfection. We see it in the animals, quickly pointing out the flaws of those interested in leadership, and even the characteristics listed by the poet are towards the end as necessary characteristics we should look out for in a leader. The leader doesn't necessarily need to have it all. You shouldn't be totally a lion or totally a lamb. We understand. So you should have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We see tough and then compassionate, mysterious but also transparent. So we see the theme of imperfection playing out in the poem. Now let's look at the poetic devices used in the poem. Poetic devices used in the leader and the led. Up first, we have allegory. An allegory is a literary work that has the two meanings. Like it has a literal meaning and a figurative meaning. And the type of allegory we have here is fable, which means the poet uses animals to as characters to tell the story. So the animals represent two things. There's a literal and a figurative. In the play in the poem, the leader and the led, the animals represent, actual human beings. Like the gathering represents countries, and then those interested in leadership represents like leaders that we have today and the followers as well. So the poem is an allegory, and under allegory, it is a fable because it makes use of animals. Then we have figures of speech. First, we have simile. Remember, simile is the use of as or like to compare two unequal things. So in the play we have sentences like a snake without a head, transparent like a river. We also have mysterious like a lake. So those are examples of simile. Then there's metaphor in the poem as well. Examples, we have sentences like a little bit of a lion. What the poet means by saying the leader should have a little bit of, it should be a little bit of a lion, simply means he should be strong. So instead of saying he should be as strong as a lion, you just directly compare, which is metaphor now, tell him to be a little bit of a lion, a little bit of a lamb. We also have synecdoche. Synecdoche is a figure of speech whereby you use a part to represent a whole or whole to represent a part. So in the poem we have the crown is made for him. The hyena thinks the crown is made for him. So this crown here, we're using it to represent leadership. That's synecdoche. Next, we have alliteration. Lots of alliteration in the play, in the poem. Pounds of his paws. Alliteration, repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of words that are close to each other. So we have pounds of his paws, the pack points, things like that. The rhino, too riotous. The repetition of the sound, or tough like a tiger. We have being repeated there. Then we also have paradox. A paradox is a contradictory statement, but by the time you look into it like on a deeper level, it makes sense. In the poem, we have a line, a leader who knows how to follow. You can see the contradictory statement here, a leader who knows how to follow. So by the time you like look at it on a deeper level, you would see that it makes sense. What it simply means is that the leader should be able to like understand from the point of view of the followers. You don't just be a leader and you're looking at it from the top where you are as I'm the leader, this is how it must be. You should be able to like understand the plight of your followers. Then we also have symbolism. In the poem, the poet uses animals as symbols of various types of leaders that we have today. Symbols of various types of leaders and followers. We see in countries of the world this day. So these are some of the poetic devices used in the leader and the led. Now don't forget that this series is actually brought to you by O3 Schools JAMB app, and then we'll get some questions from there based on the leader and the led and answer. So first question we have. So here we have the following are themes in the poem except A. Leadership, B. Followership, C. Criticism of African leadership, and D. Colonization. So in the poem, we see the theme of leadership, we also see the theme of followership, and even criticism of African leadership. Like I said, the poem is a fable, so the animals are symbolic, like there is a literal meaning, there is a figurative meaning. So literally, we see the lion as an oppressor, but figuratively, the lion represents leaders of today. So, which is criticism of African leadership. Some leaders oppress the people that they are meant to lead. By the time they get to a position of leadership, they now use that position instead of using it to help and like reduce the burden of followers. They now use it as a tool to oppress. We also see the hyena with his lethal appetite, which symbolizes greediness of some African leaders that we have today. But the poem does not focus on colonization. So these themes are in the poem, but there is nothing on colonization. The poem doesn't focus, or there's no the central idea of colonization is not in the leader and the led. Next, we have. So next question. Too tall, duplicity of stripes, trampling feet, too ugly and too riotous. This description is for what set of animals? So too tall was for the giraffe, that his eyes are too far away from the ground, which means it will be inaccessible to the followers. That's for the giraffe. Then duplicity of stripes is for the zebra. The trampling of feet is for the elephant. Too ugly and too riotous. Too ugly is for the warthog, and the riotous is for the rhino. So the answer becomes the first option. It's for this set of animals. Here we say, the hyena says the crown is made for him. The use of crown is a good example of dash. We know that the crown represents like being a leader. He thinks like he's made for leadership. So crown is like part of leadership, or a symbol rather of leadership, and is using it to represent being a leader. And that's synecdoche, where you use parts to represent a whole, or whole to represent parts. The pack trashes around like a snake without a head. The figure of speech here is like in this sentence now, we see the use of like. So it's like pointing us to what we are thinking about. So the answer will be simile, a direct comparison between the pack and a snake without a head. So we're dealing with simile. Transparent like a river means the leader should be shrewd and critical, cynical and indolent, responsible and accountable, brutal and decisive. So answer here becomes responsible and accountable. That's what I mean by transparent like a river. He should be accountable for his actions, and he should be accountable to his followers. So that's what I mean by transparent like a river. This is the characteristics that the leader is supposed to have when we say a leader should be transparent like a river. This question is a question from the O3 Schools JAMB app, and there are many more questions on the app. You can search based on topic that you like, and the answers they are given with detailed explanations. So do well to download the app, practice with more questions, and you are well on your way to getting your desired score for whatever exam it is. Could be JAM or WAEC, what have you. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.